And they're off.
Further Faster, the best independently owned outdoor store in the known universe. Whether you're heading out on climbing, paddling, tramping or running adventures, look no farther than Further Faster for all your gear and expertise needs over the winter. Head over to 57A Buchan Street, Sydenham or Tautahi, Christchurch, or hit them up at furtherfaster.co.nz.
That was perfect. I'm still angry at you pricks for letting me pronounce Buchan wrong for 6 years.
What were you saying?
Buchan. And they didn't correct me until the live show, and they all sneered at me. There's a room full of Otatahians going like, dickhead. So anyway, furtherfaster.co.nz.
We actually need to get down there for a live show. I haven't got to do that yet, and I would like to.
Just extending this out slightly, the wall of shoes is, something to behold.
Well, we definitely need to think some juice and new shoes.
Furtherfaster.co.nz.
Go something like further, faster, they're in Christchurch. Rocky is hairy and so is Badger. Jules is nice and Jacob is delicious. Go to further, faster now.
Oh, further, faster, they're in Christchurch. Rocky is hairy and so is Badger. Jules is nice and Jacob is delicious. Go to further, faster now.
Dirt Church Radio.
Episode 321 of the Dirt Church Radio Trail and Ultramarathon podcast. I'm Matt Raymond.
I'm Hallie Pottinger.
Hey, Ali, how you doing? Look, we're supposed to be the fork of Triton, the three prongs of the fork of Triton tonight, but Andrew is stuck at a ballet class, I think. So we can run amok, as you said last week. What have you been up to?
Was it running amok? I don't know how amok
Yeah,
I went,
you said
really.
run amok. I can run amok, which is pretty epic. But awesome to hear the Woman in Trail special from UTA on the podcast. That felt like this year we were doing a lot of off mic stuff on mic, hey, like with Q&As and the Dirt Church Radio live shows, but you're knocking it out, the Woman in Trail. How is that? What's that process like?
So I try and, obviously there's so much that you can cover, and each time I host one I try and think about people's knowledge that they have and experience to draw upon, and also think about kind of discussing all of the different topics that impact women and not just kind of rehashing the same stuff, hopefully adding new insights each time. But I do always like to jump on one with Lucy. You know what it's like how we work together. When you're doing something like that with a friend that you know well, you're just so comfortable and you can, I think, have really good dialogue, and I hope that comes through as well. So, yeah, I really enjoy it. So I do a lot of prep for it just to try and make sure it flows and that people are getting what they want. And then, I was going to say race day. It's not race day, but it was race day, but hosting day comes around and then you've kind of got it all there ready to go. And then hopefully draw upon the amazing panelists' knowledge and experience.
Yeah, pretty cool, all right. And I mean, Nicole Bunyan, who we shared the stage with, obviously Lucy Bartholomew, who is kind of she's a fourth wheel at Dirt Church Radio pretty much, isn't she? She would have overtaken Dr. Katie Wright as our most returningest of featured guests, and which is a pretty good problem to have.
I did actually think when I was listening to that, I was like, I want to get Lucy on for a specific topic. I think talking about Lucy as a youth athlete would be really interesting, sharing her insights there.
Again, though, it's like that thing, isn't it? And of course Jessie Speedy, who lives up to her name and just destroyed the UTA
I have to
22.
say, Kerry said he listened to the Women in Trail panel, and he was like, so there was you, Nicole Bunyan, and Lucy Bartholomew and Jacinda Ardern. And I was like, what? And he's like, Jessie sounds exactly like Jacinda Ardern. He's like, I've never seen her. Well, he actually has because he was at Tarawera. But he was like, she sounds like Jacinda. And then when I was listening to it today, I was cracking up. I was like, messaged her, Jessie, you sound like Jacinda Ardern.
Is she from Morrinsville? Is that what that is? Is it a Morrinsville accent?
I think she's Tauranga born and bred, but I might be wrong. Yeah.
There we go. Skilled orator. Well, look, I mean, how was your weekend? You were away on the mic at the Possum in Taupo.
Yeah. Yeah, it's such a fun event. You should definitely get there. It's kind of like this light, bright, family-friendly, just the atmosphere is just about like, can you wear the brightest or like, and people will put lights and stuff on on their costumes and outfits and just have a good time. So it's like, I don't know, the focus is, and for a lot of people, they'll do their first night run and they, it builds confidence to get out on the trails at night. And just because it's so kind of, good vibes and you can hop in the hot pools at the resort afterwards, which is pretty cool. So
Is it at Debrett's?
No, it's at Wairaki Resort. Yeah.
Wicked.
Yeah, so it's really, I really love working it. And this year, Dawn Tuffery was up on the stilts and she was dancing even better than me on stilts and dressed up. She was just bringing good vibes.
She's annoying, eh?
I was like, we were going, how does she get up there? And I don't know, I have so many questions.
I think more importantly, how does she get down?
Yeah, well, I reckon the down would be easy, but can you imagine, like, I don't even know. Are you on the roof of a car? Like, what are you?
Not sure. Maybe a ladder.
Yeah.
Anyway, stilt walkers amongst you, send in your top stilt walking tips to dirtchurchradio@gmail.com. But I love running at night. I think it's one of the most beautiful, engaging, fun things, even when it sucks. Rebecca and I went out yesterday for a long run. Not that I've been running that much, but I have been enjoying a Sunday, a couple of hours on Sunday, a couple of 3 hours. Here he is.
Hello.
And running into the night, going from sort of afternoon into the night is just my favourite thing ever.
I think
love it.
A lot of people are doing that accidentally at the moment with these with the sun setting so quickly. But I'm with you, Matt. I love a night run. I don't know, there's something about it. It just kind of feels like it's just you in this small space. The world is just a little bit smaller.
Packing, and I think in terms of gear, like I'm not a huge gear guy, but one thing I really do love is headlamps. And having a good headlamp in your back pocket, you just feel invincible. You're ripping into it. But look, I had here in the outline Andrew's ongoing sickness. He's back. Here he is. Andrew McDowall, how are you feeling, buddy?
Well, until the run I did about an hour ago, pretty sweet. And then, you talk about good night runs. That's all I've heard so far. Is I just had the worst run ever. You know how, I don't know, if sometimes you, an evening run can be so good. Sometimes I just feel like Superman. Like I run my best, fastest. I've got so much energy and I absolutely rip it to shreds. And then just every now and then I'll go for an evening run and I'll get about 4K into it. And suddenly I've just got nothing. Like my tank is just empty and I'll just stop. I'll actually literally stop. And my legs feel like they're about to give out. And I'm just like, God. Tonight I went to a dairy after 4K and bought myself a muesli bar just to try and put some fuel in, just so I could get back to pick up my daughter from ballet in time. So I don't know. That was fun. So anyway, night runs can suck, but mostly they're good.
I think it is about timing though, right? Like that's the thing. You wake up in the morning and you're ready to go, or you and either pre-breakfast or you had some breakfast and you're rested, you're ready to go. Those afternoon, evening runs, you have to be really careful with your fueling, I think. And if you don't
Yeah, well, this one's at exactly the same time every Monday and it's nearly always awesome. But tonight was just horrific. I don't know. Anyway, I made it back in time and then she was late, so I'm late. There you go. Sorry. I hope you've had great things to talk about.
We have had great things to talk about.
I just turn up and moan. Sorry.
2 out of 3 ain't bad, Andrew.
2 out of 3 ain't bad. At least you're here. But
Captain Positive here.
You two had an amazing conversation with Camille Herron. Talk about returning champion to Dirt Church Radio. Do we need to talk about who Camille Herron is? Does everyone know Camille Herron?
Well, I don't think we can speak on behalf of anybody else. Camille Herron is an amazing runner. We talk about, when we talk to her, we do Ali covers a lot of her achievements straight away. So we don't really need to go into that too much. You're going to hear it in a minute. An incredibly, successful will do, runner. And it was great to talk to her.
And I wanted to talk to you guys about speaking to her, because I think this would be the third or fourth time. I think it's the third time she's been on Dirt Church Radio. Camille was one of our first guests, and then she came back. Obviously, spoke to Eugene and I. And I just wanted to catch up because we hadn't spoken to Camille. I mean, she had some fairly life-altering events last year, and not a inconsiderable amount of controversy, most of it internet generated, and with the loss of contract around the Wikipedia stuff. How did you feel any trepidation going into the conversation?
No.
Tell it like it is, Ellie.
Not really. Like, I think, well, I don't know. Did you, Andrew? I didn't.
Only the usual trepidation I get, because I guess I feel still very new to this. So just having to interview anyone really in general, I always feel like a bit of a noob, a bit of a rookie, wanting to ask the right questions and not sound like an idiot.
Yeah. So although I wasn't kind of full of trepidation, I was, hoping to just speak openly and get her side of the story and have a robust conversation around it all, because I think there's been so many kind of question marks, or like, oh, what's Camille talking about, or what's actually happened here, and we haven't really had her side of things. And I'm always one of those people that kind of likes to look at things from both sides of the story and go, okay, well, who's saying what? I guess somewhere in the middle there's some truth.
I mean, she was very open, happy to talk, but it opened up some light as to a little bit of what's going on and attempts to navigate the tricky pathways that ultra running faces going forwards.
And I guess that's the thing, isn't it? Like, the one thing that hits me, and again, I didn't speak to Camille this time, was that she lost that contract, and it was up until that point, until Tara Dow's, it was one of the largest female contracts going, right? And just how it would be like losing a significant part of my income, and because of an internet pylon. And I think that, I don't know, I'm not for those listening, I have my hands up in the air. It confounds me, it really does. And it's hard, right?
The internet was mean. Does that surprise you?
No, it doesn't surprise me at all.
I've found it to be a loving, caring place full of positive comments.
Especially in the Reddits. And I wonder too, and I'm going to raise this, I mean, we talk about equity, we talk about equality all the time. I wonder if the same standards would have been approved if it was a dude. I do. Would have been just, he's a cutthroat and he's just going out there and doing what people do. I wonder. I do think women get held to a higher standard.
I think so. And I think, she said, like, there's other guys that are saying the same kind of things, but people are going, yeah, cool, right on, like he's onto it. But then when she raises her hand and she's getting a different response, and whether it's the way it's been said or it's just purely because she's a woman, I just think she's an incredible athlete who's got so much history in the sport on both the road and trail. And ultra distance, and she can see the lay of the land, so we should be listening to what she's got to say.
Now, before you start about platforming or anything like that, we don't tolerate any super binary internet dorkery, so we will moderate. Again, I mean, we've had to, in the 6 years of Dirt Church Radio, we've had to block one person, so this isn't... if you're also expecting fawning and kind of like whatever that is, probably go and, I don't know, touch some grass, look outside at the world and focus on what's really important at the start of World War III. But anyway, we should probably, bit of light in the chat, we should probably get on with this.
It's the greatest run ever. It's the greatest run ever.
Greatest run ever, brought to you by Squadron. Give their 4-week special coaching trial a go. You can find the link on the website, which is dirtchurchradio.com. It's the part of the show where we ask you to write into us and tell us your greatest run ever. It doesn't have to be a race or Mount Summit. It might just be a run around the block. Something that's sung to you for some reason. Send them in to us at dirtchurchradio@gmail.com. Now, we've always said on Dirt Church Radio that we don't read these out. We don't read them. We don't look at them before we pop them into the outline, and certainly not before we read them. But I saw this person's name, Stefan Paul-Patel, and I was stoked. So I'm really excited to read this because this is always beautiful, poetic, and very, very poignant. So he starts off, Warimi. Perhaps it's an act of sheer ego to expect to be included a third time in the greatest run ever. Maybe that's fitting. Ego is never far away from trail running. There's always a risk of losing sight of why you're doing something, whether it's obsessing over stats, buying the latest nonsense shoe, or simply telling that hill that it's time to surrender its dominance because you have arrived. I hesitated before sending this because maybe I was doing it for myself, but I still wanted to help support the greatest run ever segment, so accusations of ego stoking are entirely justified. In 2015, you get the call from a doctor relaying the blunt message, your father has only a fortnight left to live. So you book a flight 10 minutes later and land in Vienna after a 30-hour journey from Sydney. When you see him, you understand what dying is. This same man who ran the same speed as you now wheezes through lungs filled with cancer, confined to a wheelchair, his legs long since amputated. He coughs blood from endless tissues. You feel the emptiness of anticipatory grief in your stomach and become part of the small vigil, holding his hands, kissing his brow, waiting for a conversation to bring closure, the myth of too many movies that made everything into a narrative. The morning routine evolves, born of the anxious energy sitting by a bed, listening to his rattling breath. You wake up from dreams that feel like a blanket covering your face, and in the fading starlight to take the streets, to run from village to village where you grew up in the hills that mark the beginnings of the mountains. The Pannonian steep climbs steadily through fields of sunflowers, tobacco and wheat. Each morning you refine the route until the day where you shrug off the pulsing voice of fear and feel the limestone gravel slide away from your feet. Run on and on to the little bridge that surrounds the Autobahn and brings you to the forest. Slowly you climb the washed-out trail, where as a teenager you fearlessly rode that hand-me-down bicycle with no brakes, and at the top turn where birch trees fill the space between the roads and the pines, here where your family came strawberry picking an eternity ago, laughing to show off each berry, shining like a ruby uncovered in the green undergrowth. The thread of tears sparks new life into your legs, and you find speed you didn't know you had. There will be a need for all these tears soon, so you let the cadence funnel them into pools for a moment you can't imagine. He's dying. He's dying and you haven't realised what it means to be alive since you were a child. You run in the darkness of the forest and the next steep climb melts beneath your pace now. There are no hills ever that could slow all the life within you today. 3 more hills are climbed, slithering over drifts of pine needles. You smile at the metronome racket of a woodpecker, and there's no way to account for anything meaningless. No smartwatches to measure pace, no phone to buzz and hum, just the explosion of life that you've been gifted. On the final hill is a strange clearing where half the trees have been cleared. The sunrise is gathering momentum and you stop, and by a miracle a barberry bush is there, spilling tiny pink fruits. You stop and gasp and shake and see the sunlight paint the clouds. He's dying in a hospital bed. You eat handfuls of the sour fruit and sit on a tree stump and love him and everything he gave you. The rasping bark of a deer startles you. 3 fawns and a doe melt onto the trail before picking their way into invisibility among the trees. Delicate birdsong fills your ears. In the hospital, your father is waiting for the final chapter, and you need to be there, so you stand and return down to him, running in the understanding that every moment on the trail can be a greatest run ever.
Very nice. Thank you, Matt.
Wow, don't thank me. Thanks, Stefan. Like, that is the third of this kind of series he's sent in, and it all is around that, you know, his father's life, his engagement, and times he shared on the trail. And thank you, Stefan. That does not feel like an ego stroking exercise. It feels like a really beautiful thing, and one of the most privileged parts about Dirt Church Radio has been able to share these greatest runs ever with people. So please send yours in. We'd love to hear them.
And when you do, can you just send me some tissues as well, please? Those greatest runs ever get me, man. They get me in the feels.
I'm usually pretty good. There was one a little while ago. The woman sent in about her dog. just sent me to sent me to emotional town. I tell you what.
There was that one recently where it was the guy whose kids were leaving home and I was crying about Sebastian leaving home and Matt's like, where's he going? And I'm like, no, I'm fast forwarding 15 and a half years until he's leaving home, of course. I'm upset about it already. So,
And then you'll get 15 and a half years and you'll be like, TikTok, come on, what are you up to?
Yeah, if you haven't left, pay the rent.
Look, we should get on with it. Stoked you two are killing it with the interviews, and this was an incredible chat with the mighty Camille Herron.
Camille Herron, welcome to Dirt Church Radio.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I don't even remember what years. It's been a while since I've been on here, so thanks for inviting me. It's cool to catch up with my New Zealand friends.
Well, I believe it was 2019 and you'd recently won Tarawera 100 Mile.
Wow.
Yeah.
I could have sworn we talked soon or talked after that, like maybe during the pandemic, but I couldn't remember.
A lot's happened, right? There's been more races,
No, nothing's
more
happened.
wins.
Nothing's happened at all.
Nothing's happened. There was the further 6-day challenge where you pumped out 560 miles in 6 days.
Wow.
You've got an
Amazing
incredible running resume coming from a road background, getting into the trails in more recent years. You're a 3-time Olympian, Guinness World Record holder, the first woman to break 24 hours at the 153-mile Spartathlon, and you've got a raft of blistering PBs, which I'll share now. So Camille's marathon time, 2:37:14, 50K, 3:20:58,
Absolutely
50 miles. But I know, 5:38. I think they get more disgusting as we go longer too.
They're all disgusting.
By disgusting, I mean like unreal.
Yeah.
50 miles, 5:38:41. 100K, 7:08:35. 12 hours, 151.111 kilometres. 100 miles, 12:41:11.
I think that's the most disgusting.
Oh, I know. Like, that's insane.
That one makes me a little bit sick.
Yeah. 24 hours, 270.116 kilometres. 48 hours, 435.336 kilometres. And 6 days, 901.768 kilometres.
This whole time, Camille's like, what's a kilometre? What are you doing?
Yeah, she's like, come on, Ellie, put it in miles.
It's a lot of numbers.
It sounds better in Ks though, right?
It's true.
That's true.
But I've put all this because I think it's important to share, because often we look at things with the lens of what we know and remember, but your history in the sport is so long and continuing. So that's why I thought it was really important to share that background. So, you know, with all of this behind you, what's the next frontier or goal for you?
Oh, gosh. I tell you, yesterday I was actually thinking about, because they released the Olympic marathon trials standard, which is 2:37 to qualify for our U.S. Olympic marathon trials.
Whoa, that just happens to be your PB.
Yeah. And so I ran my personal best pre-super shoes back in 2012.
Ooh.
And that was like, 13 years ago? And I'm like, could I make a 4th Olympic marathon trials? Like I made 3 like long time ago, but yeah, I mean that's the kind of mindset that I have. I mean, I'm 43 and I want to take on big challenges, and have thought about going back to the marathon, especially since the shoes are much better now than when I ran marathons.
Have you got a pair of these shoes? Do you train in them?
The super shoes, I trained in super shoes like kind of in the middle of my ultra running career. Like when I was running 100 miles back in 2017, that was when the super shoes first came out. And as I've gotten into like longer races, I've actually preferred being in non-carbon plated shoes. So, but yeah, obviously if I go back to the marathon, I'm probably going to need the super shoes. So, I don't know. We'll see what happens here the next couple of years. But yeah, I mean, I'm at the point where I've done so much that it's like, I just want to take on some, I just want to continue to be challenged. So.
Can I go into the weeds on that just a little bit? So prefer not to have a carbon shoe for the really long distances. What's the reason for that?
Yeah, because when you're running slower, you're more on your heels. And so you're not putting a lot of force into your feet. And I find that the shoes start to feel like bricks if you're in the carbon plated shoes because they're really stiff and they just don't have that flex. And so it just, I think they work, they seem to feel better at the shorter events where you're running faster, you're putting more force into your feet, you're bending, you're actually, getting the benefit of the plate. So yeah, I've
That
found,
makes sense.
I feel like there's a point, like maybe it's like 100 miles or 24 hours where the pace just gets too slow and you're just more running on your heels. So, yeah.
I also only get slow at 24 hours, eh? Yeah.
I was just going to add, I think it's hilarious that Camille's talking about the marathon being one of the shorter distances.
Yeah, especially what I've been doing lately.
Yeah.
Some of those super shoes don't even have a heel, have they? They've kind of chopped it, haven't they?
Yeah.
It's sort of a 45-degree cutout. So
shoes,
you
I mean, it blows my mind. Like, I mean, I when I ran marathons, I mean, our shoes were like thin. It was like hardly any cushioning. So it would be it would be very interesting if I went back to the marathon. If I worked on my speed work again, could I get it back in my 40s? I mean, women are just keep going. So it's like, okay, maybe it's possible.
I mean, the women's marathon record is just insane now. It has been dropping at an incredible rate.
Amazing.
We just broke 210, didn't we?
Yeah.
It's 209 something now, isn't it?
209. Unbelievable.
Because Paula Radcliffe's 215 lasted for so long and it's just been smashed
Many times.
So many times. Yeah.
Yeah, totally. But yeah, I mean, I actually think that the shoes having that better cushioning has helped women to continue going into their 40s. I mean, there's more and more women that are continuing to make the Olympic marathon trials and go to the Olympics. And I mean, it just feels like, wow. And I've been part of that evolution. I mean, I've had a long running career. So I remember what shoes were like, when we didn't have that cushioning and thinking about how beat up my body used to be and my feet. And so, yeah, I definitely appreciate the better foams and the carbon plates. And yeah, everything has just really helped to elevate athletes in the sport.
Well, you've said it out loud now, so we demand it. We want to see this Olympic trial. 237. Let's go.
I'm talking about it now. I'm held accountable for it.
You are.
It's funny.
All right. There's a lot going on about running with you at the moment. You've been open recently about your autism spectrum diagnosis.
Yeah.
Neurodiversity in the sport's not really talked about very much, I would say. I mean, when someone like you talks about it, a high performer like you, and it obviously helps others understand themselves better, feel more perhaps included. And so I suppose the question is, what's the response been from other fellow runners once you shared your diagnosis?
Yeah. Gosh, it has been a journey the past year. So I got diagnosed last year in May, and I mean, I didn't feel like I had any sort of like preconceived notions about it. Like we hear about like there's a stigma about autism and like people are really uncomfortable to talk about it. I felt like I was just like an open book. And when I got the diagnosis, I was like, it brought me so much clarity that I was like, oh my gosh, this like explains everything about me. So I was excited to talk about it. But definitely it has been a journey the past year because I feel like I've helped so many people, especially like parents of neurodiverse kids. I've had so many parents and people reach out to me and be like, oh, thank you for talking about it. I finally understand my kid. And I, as a kid, I struggled with speech and I had to take speech therapy until I was 9. So I was always like kind of in my headspace as a kid, and I just smiled and I was really friendly, but I didn't really talk. And so it's now I worked really hard with my speech pathologist as a kid because I wanted to be able to communicate. And I feel like I'm kind of making up for it now.
Lost time.
All that lost time. But yeah, it feels empowering to me now. And I wish I had known sooner. Obviously, I'm 43 now and finding this out, and I always knew I was different. But I have a voice. And I can talk about my lived experiences. I can talk about what it was like as a kid. I can relate to parents. And it just means a lot. It means a lot that I can like make a difference beyond what I've done as an athlete. And it gives me a greater platform to, I feel like going forward in my life, this is going to be something I'm going to advocate for. And yeah, more inclusivity. And I just mentioned yesterday that I signed up for the Vermont 100 miler. And up in Vermont, I've always wanted to do this race. And I always knew like it was a cool race to do because it has like a horse race that runs alongside the human race. And I always thought that was really cool. But when I contacted the race director, Amy, and learned about how they support Vermont adaptive ski and sports, and that they had they have disability categories, and that they had a neuro developmental disability category. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's amazing. So for the first time ever, I was able to enter a race and declare my disabilities. And I actually like cried while I was doing the registration. I was like, this is like the coolest thing ever. So yeah, I mean, it's just like little things like that have made me think about, well, what can events do to be more inclusive and supportive? And obviously I've been trying to work on, what can I do, to help myself to be more comfortable at races. So yeah, it's just trying to figure out, how do I go forward in my running career to feel better supported? I know all the challenges. Obviously, what I do, I feel like my brain is both a superpower, but I also have it's a disability. I have strengths and I have weaknesses, and I'm trying to figure out how do I help better support and accommodate myself, and how can races better support us as well. So.
I think that's a really good question. And, it's amazing that you're sharing this diagnosis, because often people will see a diagnosis as a bad thing, or that, oh no, this has happened. But actually, look at you, like there's probably plenty of benefits to having that diagnosis, well, being autistic. Like look at where it, like part of that has led to your success, I'm sure.
Oh, definitely.
But I think like from that race perspective and how to kind of create better pathways for accessibility, like I'm thinking in New Zealand we have Achilles International, and I can think of one amazing athlete, Tahuia Apapa. I can't say his surname right now, but Tahuia is a brilliant athlete. He's on the ASD spectrum, and I can understand how races can be really overstimulating for people with ASD. So what kind of initiatives could you see being put in place to help make them more accessible for people with ASD?
Yeah, that's a great question. So when I went and did the Sri Chamoy 48-hour race in Australia 2 years ago, where I set my world record, they did not have music at the event.
Oh.
And I tell you, that made a difference. Like I felt like I was able, just that peace and tranquility, like really helped. And I mean, I didn't know yet that I was autistic, but it just made me think about like, little things like that. I mean, it's really challenging because, you go to a race and they want to make a big deal of it. And like, there's people, so you're trying to self accommodate. And so like, I mainly have to support myself. So for example, like I went and did the Suchao 24-hour race in Taiwan back in December, and I wore noise reducing earplugs during the race. And then I'm very sensitive to light. And so during the night portion where they put on the floodlights, and I realized like, this is just really driving me batty. And I had some like lighter blue lenses that I wore. I ended up wearing colored lenses during the night portion of the race. So it's like, I think there's a song about this. What is this? I wear my sunglasses at night. That's an 80s song.
It's interesting because, like, for me, kind of thinking of it with my lens as a finish line MC, we try our best to make things like, really celebrated and loud and like, welcome them in. Actually, like, I wonder if there's the ability for like a request for a quiet finish line, like where they just come in to kind of calm finish. Or something like that. Like there's a lot of interesting questions that can be asked about how we can better support ASD athletes.
Yeah. I mean, I like obviously like a race like UTMB where I can't even, I mean, people like crowding on the trails and that sort of thing. And yeah,
it's
like,
lot.
Yeah, it's a lot. And I like, even like we're talking about Albi, the 24-hour world championship. So I am about to put in an ADA request to USATF. Because one of the things that I want to get is to have a separate tent and space rather than to be using the shared space with the U.S. team, because from what I've experienced in the past, like, I mean, you've got 12 athletes, you've got their crew, the team managers, like all these people in a small tent. And I feel so uncomfortable. It is really like an overwhelming experience for me.
Just come hang out at the New Zealand team. We're pretty chill.
I know somebody needs to adopt me.
Yeah, I mean, every time we go to these things, the USA, the team goes so hard. Guys have got all your incredible matching kit, and there's so many people involved, and we're just like, oh my goodness, this is so full on. We're like the cool runnings. Come and hang with us.
That's awesome. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, fortunately, like I've been to Albi before, so I kind of know like people lining the course, and I mean, they had like 350 runners on a small loop, and it is definitely an overwhelming experience being autistic and all the it's like 24 hours of like just social.
There's nowhere to hide. Yeah, there's nowhere to hide. You're surrounded by people. You never have more than 2 meters in front of you or 2 meters behind you.
Yeah. So I'm already like trying to prepare myself for, what can I do to better support myself? And I mean, the noise reducing earplugs, the sunglasses at night, having a separate tent. And I mean, we have to sign a statement of conditions to represent the team. And I've worked with our USOPC ombudsman to help modify that to put in like my requests. And so it's just trying to figure out like what are little things that I can do, to not force myself to fit into things that I don't feel comfortable with. I mean, it's like an everyday thing of trying to figure out how to better support myself. So I'm continuing to learn.
Just want to touch on Suchao. I got to run a 24-hour there once. Man, they go hard. Like that university goes so hard.
Oh, yeah.
It's just so many lining the track. It's so much noise. It was wonderful. It's brilliant, but talk about overwhelming.
It was very overwhelming. They had... I'm not sure like if they did the same thing when you ran it, but they literally had like a concert going.
Yes.
During the
they
evening
have a full-on
time.
stage and a performance. It's absolutely nuts. And then
was
every
intense.
runner has someone yelling out there.
Oh, yes.
Jayo, Jayo. It's something else.
Yeah. I mean, I just had to like accept it, I guess. And but yeah, I mean, it was a cool experience for sure.
Very, very unique. Okay, so you talk about the last 12 months. Obviously, there has been a lot of challenges, and it seems a reasonable time to bring up recent posts on Instagram. There's a lot you can't say, but is there any sort of thing you'd like to add to what you've already said online, just regarding what appears to be talking about? I mean, you've been, it appears to be about doping, right? And how non-transparent the current state of affairs is with, I suppose, anything longer than a marathon. It seems to be fairly loose. Have I sort of got the right end of the stick there?
Yeah, I mean, it's been a journey in the past year. As we mentioned, I came from the marathon and road racing background. I've been in the sport for a long time. I've been through 14 record ratifications, 18 drug tests. I've served with the USATF for like 12 years as an athlete rep. Wow. I am an athlete rep on the rules committee. I've helped with the language that we've adopted for certain rules. I mean, I'm somebody that's very well informed. And yeah, it's been a difficult journey the past year because there have been situations of athletes violating rules, and it's like very obvious, very blatant. And I've worked with the governing bodies for years because I've been through these record ratifications and I have like good relations with the officials. And so, yeah, last year I ended up reporting some concerns at a few events. And unfortunately, my concerns, when I brought them to an organization, my concerns were not kept confidential. And so they were shared with one of the record claimants, and she ended up going on this retaliating and going on this public smear campaign towards me. And it just kind of escalated from there and led to like this false media story. It's just kind of set me on this journey the past many months of it's really unbelievable how it happened. I just deeply care about the integrity of the sport and fairness and rules. And I've recognized, I think our sport is kind of going through growing pains right now of becoming more competitive and more professionalized. And for us competing at the top, the rules matter and they can't be bent. They can't be bent. They can't be subjectively bent. And I think a lot of athletes, I mean, I'm coming in, being well informed, and I'm talking about the rules. And I think that there's a bit of like tension going on because a lot of athletes either don't know the rules, they don't know why they matter. Our sport has kind of been like the wild, wild west. And now there's like a need for more law and order, and people don't understand, like most of the athletes in the sport, the rules probably don't mean much of anything to them. I mean, we've kind of had this honor system in the sport, but now it's becoming more important that the rules are going to matter. The athletes need to know the rules. We need to abide by them because there's just a lot at stake. I mean, this is our livelihood. This is for many athletes, this is the profession, and there's just a lot at stake, and a lot of people don't understand why that matters. But yeah, I've ended up, because of my experience, I've ended up communicating with the IAU Athletes Commission. And they were able to set up a confidential reporting system so that we can report concerns, hopefully legitimate, good faith concerns, not bad faith concerns, because you don't want somebody like saying, oh, Camille's taking drugs, you want it to be like legitimate, good faith concerns. So I feel like, that's been creating this reporting system, this confidential reporting system has been one good thing that's happened out of my experience. And then I'm also on the Pro Trail Runners Association. I'm part of that as well. And I also mentioned about what we set up with the IAU, this reporting system, because athletes we need to be able to speak up if there's something going on. I don't want someone to feel like they have to be silent because they have a lot at risk. And I mean, I did have a lot to risk. And I didn't even think about that after I reported my concerns. I mean, I just thought I was doing the right thing. because I care about the integrity of the sport and, fairness for all athletes. So yeah, I'm still kind of in the middle of what I'm going through right now, because I've had to seek out legal representation and to protect myself. And so, I really appreciate people being patient and to, reveal more details about what I've experienced. But I just want people to understand what happened, why all these false media narratives came out. In fact, the news story that came out had quotes by one of the people that I reported to the IU. And so, yeah, there was this pattern of retaliation that happened last year. And so, yeah, I've had to seek out legal representation to resolve all of it. But, yeah, I really appreciate people being understanding of what I've been through and like how traumatizing it's been to me, and that I had good intentions when I reported these concerns. And, I feel very fortunate that the IU understands and that they validated my concerns twice, the concerns that I reported. So, yeah, I mean, I just deeply care about the integrity, and I want people to know that I care about our sport. I care about the athletes, and I just want there to be fairness.
So where do you see like you've talked about it being like the Wild West, where do you see the issues as being like, where are we not meeting the right standards? What are we missing? Like because you've come from a road background, you're come into trail and ultra running. So what are we not doing in that space that happens in road that we've got the issues with?
Yeah, great question. So, I mean, I think a lot of the sport, especially like with trail running, most events are not sanctioned by a federation. And so some races may have rules, other races may not really have any rules. But the more competitive races, that there's definitely going to be a greater need to have rules. And I compete mainly in ultra running, and fortunately, like most ultra races are sanctioned by a federation. They have the IU label. Hopefully, they would have drug testing present that complies with World Athletic rules. But I think that overall, in like mountain ultra trail, like the sport collectively, that there's going to be a greater need to align with World Athletics and World Athletic rules, and to be like under one umbrella system. So yeah, I think that being part of the pro trail runners, that they've been having more discussions with the World Athletics, and how trail running can better align with World Athletics, and having things like drug testing and out of competition drug testing. But yeah, I mean, you look at races like UTMB. UTMB has like a whole series, and they have like a points. I don't even know. They have this like complicated like point system.
I believe there's some stones involved. Yeah.
Yeah. And yeah, so I mean, it seems like these series are trying to create their own, their own fairness, their own rules. And yeah, I mean, the pro trail runners have been in a lot of communication with the UTMB people, trying to make it fair. And yeah, I mean, I hear situations of, because I guess they have like a point system, and you have to have a certain points to get into some like, where they had the Canyons 100K. Somebody said that they didn't qualify. They didn't have like enough points because they didn't run enough 100Ks to qualify for the
ultra
league.
Score wasn't enough, maybe.
Yeah, I think
index, maybe.
Yeah, I think there's like a UTMB index, and then there's an ITRA index. I mean, there's like all these like nuances. Okay. There's nuances to trying to qualify and get support and entry. Like, I don't know, it just kind of blows my mind. I come from ultra running, where it's like, okay, it's a little bit more straightforward, but trail running's getting a bit more complex. And but yeah, I mean, I really got to give credit to Scott Traer. Spoke out about what happened at the Black Canyon 100K. For people that haven't been following, I guess there was a situation where an athlete, I don't know the full details. It was kind of complicated, but I guess he like maybe went off course or something, and his crew tried to like get to him and like gave him a bottle, and like I don't know. But anyway, Scott Traer
the
ended
story
up
changed a few times.
Yeah.
So, it's a hard one to follow.
It was a hard one to follow, but basically Scott spoke out, and I guess because they had kind of bent the rules, and Scott was like, "Hey, you can't bend the rules. Like the rules are the rules." So yeah, they ended up resolving the situation, and I think he was. Did he? I don't even know. I don't know. I think
he ended up being DQ'd. I think at first they were saying like a 20-minute time penalty, and I think they then went to DQ.
Okay,
I think he disqualified himself. I think
that's right. That's right. He chose.
Did the right thing probably in the end with all of the noise and all of the controversy. The best thing in the end was to disqualify yourself.
But I gotta give credit to. I mean, it was just like how it was. It was. It kind of happened. But I really got to give credit to Scott because, the more that the athletes speak up about these issues, that, it helps for other people to speak up. And so I was like, this is, we got to start speaking up more about these things. And I mean, even if they're uncomfortable to talk about, it matters that we care. Those of us, especially at the top, care about these issues just because we want our sport to remain fair. And so, and I think it's really interesting as well because being a woman and speaking up, and women are usually made to be like, okay, I'm not supposed to speak up. Yeah. And so, and I'm somebody that, I've been in the sport for a long time. I'm somebody that just speaks my mind and speaks the truth. It's really interesting to see how people react to a man speaking out versus a woman. And I definitely have felt that with my situation. Like I'm trying to speak up, but everybody's trying to silence me. But I know I need to continue to lean in and stand by my values and why it matters. Even if, a lot of people in the sport don't understand why it matters, I still think it's going to become more important as the sport continues to grow and become more competitive and professionalized. So,
yeah, and the rise of professionalism it makes it more important, right? Because there's massive prize money at stake, and people's sponsorships rely on whether their payments rely on whether they're getting podiums.
Yes.
And when world records are involved, like it actually does need to be fair. And I think that kind of lies the question too, right? Like, so say we've got a small race that should have drug testing, but the cost is actually quite prohibitive. Who should be paying for that? Like, should I as an athlete go, well, now my entry's $30 or $40 more to pay for the drug testing that's happening for this very small percentage of athletes? Like, how do you see we making headway with creating a fairness in our sport? Like, who should pay? Is it the brands? Is it the races? Is it all athletes? Do we end up with a carded situation like Ironman pro athletes? What's Camille's hot take on this?
What's my hot take? I've been studying the World Athletic anti-doping rules, especially with ultra running lately, because the IU changed their policy last year, and I kind of wanted to deep dive. And I mean, I've always complied with World Athletic rules, which requires drug testing immediately post race, and that is something that we have usually been proactive about, that you don't want to rely just on the organizers, because what if the organizers don't know what they're doing?
So you've organized your own drug testing, is this what you're saying?
So we normally try to work with the race organizers and with the NATO, the National Anti-Doping Organization. And so from what I've read in the World Athletic rules is that it's up to the race, or the race organizer is the one that's supposed to do it, that's supposed to arrange it. But in terms of the costs, that we're always like very proactive before a race because we want to be compliant with the rules. Like we want to validate my performances. And
Yes.
so I'm trying to, I don't believe that I've had to pay for a drug test. I think it's usually been either the federation is paid for it or the race is paid for it. But because I've been involved within USATF, I know how much drug tests cost. And so I'm personally willing to validate my performances and pay for it if I needed to pay for it. And we've always offered to pay for drug tests if it was like, difficult to pay for a race. But yeah, I mean, I think like races like Western States and UTMB, I mean, I think they understand that they need to be paying for this. They need to have drug testing. There's so much on the line. And so, yeah, I don't know if they somehow like build that into their entry fees. I don't know. But it's really good though that, more competitive races are starting to understand why they need to have drug testing because yeah, like you mentioned, I mean, sponsors have bonuses and there's just a lot at stake. And so yeah, I mean, it just means a lot. I don't think like, most of the sport understands why it matters, but yeah, it's definitely going to become more important as the sport continues to grow and become more competitive.
So you talk, obviously you use the word rules, people following the rules as a general thing. Obviously a huge amount of that is this doping side of things, the testing and that sort of carry on. Are there other aspects of races you would like to, I don't know if, I don't want to use the word standardized too much because obviously one of the beauty of ultramarathons is that you're in different places, the different terrain, and that's why we want to do it, right? We want to go see these awesome things. But obviously when people want to start comparing this versus that and this sort of thing, someone's 100 miles is not often the same as someone else's 100 miles. It's quite hard to measure these things and that sort of carry on. Someone sets a world record on this and that. I know. What's that one? I think you set a record on it in America. It's a very flat, but it is a trail run, but it's very flat. So
Tunnel Hill.
Tunnel Hill,
yeah.
That's the one. And I assume these are all measured really well, but of course, you then have to make sure that, well, if someone else claims a trail 100-mile record, well, what was theirs like? So is that part of what you would like to see sort of more tightly controlled? Or?
Well, yeah, I mean, at least going for IAU world records, that we're under world athletic rules, and IAU has their own guidelines as well. So they have a couple of things that are a little different than full compliance to world athletic rules. But the world athletic rules apply for all IAU world records, and then I think they have a couple little differences, maybe. Actually, I'm not sure for 6 days. They call 6 days a world best. So there's the 48 hours is a world record, but 6 days is a world best. And they have like a couple like little differences. But we are under the same rules. And like you mentioned, that is important. It's important that we know the rules. We're following the same rules, the same standards so that you can compare performances to be equal. You can't be bending the rules. Somebody can't be getting pacing assistance at one race and then another person is following world athletic rules and doesn't have that pacing assistance. And so like, it's wild to me that people don't understand why that matters. You're not supposed to get pacing assistance. And I can start rattling off numbers too, because I know which rule numbers it are. It's actually 6.3.1.
Oh, that's brilliant.
Yeah, and it's funny too because I'm autistic, so I have like a memory of gold, and I can just start like rattling off numbers and like what the actual like verbiage is. But yeah, I mean, I take the rules seriously, and if you're going for a world record, you sure as better know the rules ahead of time, and you should seek out clarity from the governing bodies, because there is no freaking way that you should be going and running a 6-day world best and you didn't have drug testing immediately post-race. I mean, like, that is such a loss for the athletes. Like, you've got to be proactive. You do not want to have your performance invalidated because of some like a cone was moved in a race, which unfortunately has happened to me before.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness.
So when I ran the Jackpot 100 back in 2022, I ran 12:41. And the race director had moved cones at there was a turn where he had moved the cones, and it kind of slightly altered the course. And we had asked him before the race, like, oh, did you get the course recertified? And he's like, oh yeah, I got it recertified. And so yeah, it was really frustrating because when they went, there was like a conflict in the remeasurement of the course, and so it was like remeasured post race, and the guy that remeasured it got over 100 miles, and then it was remeasured like a couple months later by two other World Athletic Grade A measures, which you wouldn't understand why that matters, but I could start telling you.
It's okay. I get a rough idea of why that matters. Go on.
You have to have like an independent remeasurement, and so they brought in like two different independent two different world athletic grade A measures to remeasure it, and both of them got like slightly under 100 miles. So you had one guy that got over 100 miles, you had two guys that got under 100 miles. But anyways, I mean, it was all because these cones had been moved, and I had checked with the race director before the race, and he's like, oh yeah, I got it remeasured. So, I mean, it's just things like that cost you a world record. So that's why it matters. Like even with as much as I know about the rules, and I know about all these like nuances to the rules, I mean, there can still be mistakes that cost you. And so, I mean, you don't want that to happen. Like as an athlete, you don't want to lose a world record because of something was like missing, and you can't bend the rules either. You can't be like, oh, well, I didn't know that. I didn't know I wasn't supposed to have pacers. Well, sorry. And I feel, I got to say that I feel bad for athletes. I personally feel bad for athletes if they were to like not get a record, and people have been on personal attacks towards me that I'm trying to prevent. I'm trying to prevent my world records from being broken. But the truth is, I feel heartbreak for athletes that whether they didn't know the rules or they, something happened. I've been there. I've personally been there, and I don't want that to happen. So that's why, I feel like it's so important. That's why I've been speaking out about the rules and athletes needing to know them. And I mean, I don't mean to come across as a hard ass, but it
matters.
It does matter.
Especially these races are not, this is not a marathon. This is something that takes 2 days or 6 days. I mean, you want to get it right. It's a huge amount of effort to put in.
Absolutely.
I'm keen to hear, like, so can you talk us through what the preparation is like towards a world record attempt? And, like also, I mean, how frequently you could do something like that? Because, there's a huge spend, I guess, which is why you're saying the rules matter, because talk us through the prep for this.
Oh yeah, so much. I mean, like I've been so focused on the multi-day stuff here the past few years, and especially being autistic and like the sensory overload that I have to deal with when I run on a track for 2 days, and you have all these people and all the hoopla going on. I mean, it's an overwhelming experience. I feel so burned out after I do a 48-hour race or the 6-day race. I mean, it just takes like months of recovery from that. And so yeah, I feel like I'm kind of at a point right now where it's like, okay, I think I want to step back down in distance for a bit, before I reattempt for 48 hours and beyond. But yeah, I mean, there's so much preparation that goes into that. I mean, not just training, but like we said, you're working with the governing bodies. You're trying to have drug testing set up. You're trying to make sure you know the rules. You're trying to work with the race organizers. All these like little things that matter, and because you want your record to count. You want it to count. You don't want to go run for 6 days and it doesn't count. And so, yeah, I mean, I just really deeply care about the sport. And yeah, I mean, I'm here as a resource too. Like my husband and I, we've had people reach out to us over the years because they want to know what they need to have in place to go for a record. People are going for like age group records. I mean, I'm somebody that's like pretty resourceful and helpful. And I've directed people to like, this is who you need to go to. This is the rules. This is, we know things, we know things. And so we want to help people, to make sure that their records are validated. So
48-hour world record was, you just lost it.
Oh,
a week and a
that's
half
right.
Ago, right?
I know. I'm losing my records, but it's okay. It's totally fine. It's totally fine.
We're casting no shadows over Patricia, right? Like, I mean, she's legit, isn't she? It was an incredible performance, isn't it?
Yeah, it was amazing. I mean, I don't know if you followed her journey here the past year, but she's had breast cancer.
Didn't know that.
And yeah, I mean, she's been on her own health journey, and she started running really well. I think it was right before she started going through her treatments, and then she's been on this journey with her breast cancer, and to see her come back like she did, I mean, it's what a heck of a story. Like, I'm inspired. Both of my grandmothers had breast cancer, and between my mom and my sisters, and I mean, it's something that, yeah, I mean, she's a shiro. She's a shiro for sure. I mean, just what she did. I think it's so cool. And I mean, I don't take it personally when somebody, I've gone my whole running career, my whole ultra running career celebrating people, who to my knowledge, followed the rules and complied. And Patricia's been in the sport for a long time, and I'm really proud of her and her life journey that she's been on the past year plus. And yeah, I mean, it's awesome. I think it's great. It's great when a record is broken, and yeah, I mean, I guess she'll have to go, she'll have to go through the ratification process. So, with the IU, and yeah, I think to my knowledge, I think it's legit, and yeah, I'm proud of her.
Has it sort of lit a fire? Are you sort of, okay, well, now you go. I mean, records are made to be broken.
Yeah. Well, my husband says, go ahead and just let all my records be broken. it's like, then it's going to motivate me to level up here the next couple of years. So, I think it's just an exciting time in the sport. And like there's a quote, iron sharpens iron. It's kind of like this sword fight that's going on, but I feel like we have like a deep respect for each other, and yeah, I mean, we're bringing out the best in each other. The iron sharpens iron, and I think it's really cool. I think it's going to be really cool going back to Albany in October and the World Championship, and racing my Japanese friend Miho, and there's
yes.
Yeah, it's going to be awesome. I think she broke my record by, I don't even know, it's like 230 meters, or I don't even remember the exact amount. Like, not very much, but
I was lucky enough to be right beside her when she broke it.
Oh, you were?
I just happened to be running right. You know how, it's all a lottery as to where you end up on the track. And I just happened to be right beside her when she broke it, which was pretty darn cool.
Oh, man. I was so proud of her. Like, I remember watching her in the race, and she just had this like gritty look on her face. Like, she's like running her heart out. And I was like, she's amazing, and I'm really proud of her. And we stay in touch on social media, so I'm excited to see her. I know she has a love for beer, and like, it's like we could definitely hang out.
You can talk about that. Yeah, that's right. Do you still swear by the beer for fueling during races?
I do. I like my beer. I've actually been more into non-alcoholic beers lately at home. I've been trying to cut back on my alcohol intake. Yeah, I mean, sometimes when I'm like traveling or going to races, I celebrate a bit more. But when I've been at home, I've tried to cut back and be enjoying more like Coke and ginger beer and non-alcoholic beer. So,
And just while we're still on the 48, how about Matthew's distance at 485 kilometres? That is just blows my mind.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
You know,
I know we
over
forgot to, we were
240.
talking about the ladies. I forgot about Metho.
We can, yeah, I mean, that's fine. But at the same time, like, I mean, he didn't just beat Kouros's record; he smashed it. Really.
It was incredible, and he's such an endurance animal. It's like, oh my gosh, I was following his build up to this, and he does a lot of cross training. And I'm not really into. I think he does like swimming and cycling, and like he even plays basketball, which is really cool. So yeah,
seems like a dude. I'd have a beer with him. Yeah, he seems like a real cool
he
dude.
actually doesn't drink. He doesn't
there you
drink.
go.
I know. I was really I was like, how's he from Belgium and he doesn't drink?
Oh yeah, that is a crying shame.
His parents are wonderful too. I don't know if he's his mom, his dad. I mean, he's got like his whole family behind him. It was really cool when we got to meet them when we were in Taiwan. So.
Oh, wonderful. All right. Well, so watch this space. After you've got the marathon trials out of your system, then perhaps keep just moving back up in distance.
I know. I think I want to step back down. Like, I did a 50 miler here on the trails a couple of weeks ago, and that was really fun because I've been doing all this flat road stuff for a long time, and going back to trails, I was like, oh my gosh, this is like, it's like less pressure, and I'm not having to like run circles and like be so focused. So I think the trails are calling me back, and it's gonna be fun to go to Vermont here in July as well. So
yeah, I've been to Mount Snow. Does it go anywhere near Mount Snow in Vermont?
Mount Snow. I'm not
I know,
sure.
it's a really original name for a mountain, but
there's like the white. Well, that's in New Hampshire. I'd have to look the different mountains, but I guess you've got like the Appalachian Trail that goes up. Yeah, that's up in the Northeast. I'm not as familiar with that.
I think we got quite deep, but we've also had some laughs, and I'd like to round things out with a bit of fun because there's a lot of joy in our sport, right?
Oh, totally. I'm all about the joy. Yeah. Sorry we went deep there, but I'm usually I'm a very happy, positive person. But yeah, there's definitely things that we got to talk about, and so yeah, I appreciate you talking about my experience here the past year.
100%. All right. The goal is to answer as quickly as you can. Do you reckon you can do that, Camille?
I don't know if that's possible. I'm autistic and I think about things a little too deep sometimes. So.
It's all right. Well, like there's plenty of space on the hard drive. Let's just go.
Yeah. You do what you do.
Okay.
What's your favorite post-run treat?
A beer.
Yeah, I was going to say
probably a beer and a burger. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's actually what you had at Tarawera.
Oh, probably.
I think the finish line, 2017. I remember.
Yes. Oh, my gosh.
You sitting there having your beer and burger.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Tarawera, I passed out. I don't know if you remember that.
I remember.
I crossed and I passed out. And then I think they went and like dunked me in an ice bath. And I was really out of it. Oh, my gosh. I just like, woo. It was like really hot. Yeah.
It was really hot. I just remember you sitting on a chair eating your burger and having a beer and just being like, this is the best.
Oh, yes. That's so funny. Oh, my gosh. I feel like I want to come back to Tarawera. I love that race.
Well, that's actually one of our quick fire questions.
Oh, is it?
Am I coming back to Tarawera?
We'll come to it. What's your worst bathroom situation you've ever had in a race?
Oh, geez. I don't even know where to go with that.
Now, remember, I was at LB 2019.
Oh, shoot. I'm sorry. That was really bad. Oh, my gosh. That was so bad. They like forced me to go take a shower. It was really bad. I'm sorry.
You still broke the world record, though, which is outrageous.
I did. Yeah. I think I took like I don't know, it's like a 3-minute shower. like I literally lost like 3 minutes. They ran me in there, like washed me down, like ran back out really fast. But I'm so sorry. I feel really bad about it. It was like what happened was I was taking gels that had was it like the baking soda? We call it sodium. It's called what do you call it? I'm losing my mind. What's that called? Yeah, it's like the latest thing that they
Sodium
put in the
bicarb.
Sodium bicarbonate.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So I was doing the sodium bicarbonate
you,
like
like
a
5
long
years
time
ahead.
ago. Yeah, I was like
Wow.
way ahead of the curve. And I do not recommend sodium bicarbonate in ultras. At least like it does not go too well. At least those gels in that formula. And funny enough, like I'd actually tested the gels at like a 50K a couple weeks before, and I had GI issues at that race as well. So I should have known better. But I'm telling you, it was horrible. It was like, and they only had like American toilets at like one of the bathrooms because the
There's
others.
a lot of squatting, eh? It was brutal.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
brutal. And so like I went to like go to the restroom, and then like there was a queue, there was a line, and I waited in the line. I was like, oh no, I can't wait anymore for this. So I got back out, and then it like hit me. I was like, oh my gosh, it was so bad. I'm so sorry.
You know what though? Like that's it happens to the best of us, right?
was
Like
bad.
I'm sure everybody's got a story like that, but some people's are probably less high profile.
I'm just so glad we've been able to talk about this. It's so
Oh
cathartic
gosh,
for me.
I hope it doesn't happen again. I'm just like, I'm mortified.
Well, sodium bicarb, we know. Yeah, I mean that is what you hear
Do
now. Like a
not
lot of
have
people who are using it now are just like, oh my goodness, this stuff makes you natural.
Oh
So-
jeez. I do not recommend it for ultras.
all right, we'll move on from that.
What's your strangest hallucination?
Oh, I don't hallucinate. So I have a different brain, and I'm able to hyper focus for long periods of time. And I've always been so confused. I was like, I don't even know. I've never hallucinated before. I don't know what that is. And I was so confused. Like, why am I not is that like, why do some people not hallucinate? But now I better understand that I am able to hyper focus, and my brain is different, and I don't experience that. So, I don't know.
Well, you're really missing out. I'm sorry.
I know. I'm like, I want to hallucinate. I want to see like things like floating around.
Yeah, I swear that penguin was real. Yeah.
But I do have a funny story though. When I ran the Tarawera 100-miler, I did during the evening time, I did start to get like kind of like sleepy, and I laid down and I took a little kip on a rock. And I remember like, I don't know, maybe it's like a couple minutes or something like that. But then I got back up and was able, felt like my brain was like finally like clear and was able to keep going. And then when you finish that race, it's at that time you finished it like inside of a building, and they did the haka at the finish line.
Oh, yes.
It's really cool.
The event center, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. It's awesome.
What's the name? Oh, road or trail. Well, you've sort of talked about that before.
Oh, I'm so torn on this. I mean, everybody knows me more as like a road ultra person, but after I went back and did like this 50-miler, I'm like, oh man, I really miss the trail. So I don't know. I would probably say like a race like Spartathlon is my favorite because it's mostly a road course with a mountain in the middle, and the mountain part was definitely the best part of that course for sure. I loved the trail. It was like all technical and like gnarly, and then you like fly down the back side and it's like loose rock, and I was like, yes, this is like my element. So yeah, I like courses that have like a mix of like everything. Yeah.
So this is my ignorance here. Spartathlon, it's not, I knew it had a huge climb towards the end, but it's not a road. You're actually on a proper trail.
It's proper trail. Oh yeah, it's
cool.
technical. And when you hit the mountain section, and it's really brief, but it takes a long time because it's like really steep. I think it took me like maybe like 30 minutes or something to go like maybe a mile or so. I don't know. It was like really steep, technical.
Cool.
Yeah, it was like one of those crazy like climbs. And for road, most people are like road athletes. Like they don't.
Of course.
They
You got the
don't.
road shoes on, sliding all over the place.
Yeah, so you're trying to like have, I ended up, what did I wear? I think that I wore the Hoka Rincon. I wore road shoes, so I was not wearing trail shoes. And I had actually tested that shoe on the trails before the race, and I felt like comfortable